Hey folks, I'm Robert Quinn, your go-to source for semiconductor industry insights here on LinkedIn. I'm excited to introduce a brand new live stream series, Beyond the Wafer, where we dive into the people, perspectives, and leadership shaping the innovation in the semiconductor and beyond. Joining me is my co-host, Robert Wolff, our second episode here on LinkedIn. RW, thanks for joining me today. How you doing?
What's up, Robert? How's it going, man? A little R&R this weekend, huh?
How
Yeah.
you doing, brother? Good to see you, man.
You too. Yeah, I'm actually excited. This is our second episode so far. Last time we got to speak with Raul Vergara from Thistle Technologies. Today we're speaking with Pete Bernard, the CEO of Edge AI Foundation. Pretty exciting stuff. You got some good questions prepared?
Yes, for sure. I can't wait to have Pete on the show. He's man, he is a man of knowledge, and he knows he's been around the block. I tell you what.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely has. And personally, one of my mentors, and I think now I can call him a friend. You know, he's been good times hanging out with him. So do we want to bring him on now, or do we want to let's do a little recap of last episode?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect. Let me grab the link here. So last week, I want to say last week, but how do you say it? Like 2 weeks ago, I guess.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we spoke with Raul Vergara from Thistle Technologies. He is the Chief Revenue Officer. It was an interesting conversation, to say the least. We got to talk about the things that keep him up at night, right? As a CRO, we got to talk about the convergence of marketing, engineering, product, and basically all the different roles that a CRO has while running a company alongside the other C-suites. And then, I think we had a little conversation about Edge.
Yeah, a little bit of controversy there about what is the edge, where is the edge, and it was fun to talk about that, and because it is like it's like where is it, and some people have different perspectives on that, so that was good.
I wonder what people what will say to us when we ask him the same question.
I can't wait to hear Pete.
All righty,
definitely going to be a wealth of knowledge on that side. And it's going to be fun to talk to him.
Absolutely. Let's just bring him in now. How about that? Yeah.
All right.
There he is. Mr. Bernard, how are you, sir?
Here. By the way, your opening music, I was trying to pinpoint where I heard it before. It sounded like the Sally Jesse Raphael talk show music from like 80s.
Actually, you know what? This is a good time. Actually, I never had a chance to thank our producer behind the scenes, Tori Mogadam. He's basically the one who built, or I guess you'd say, created all of these assets for us. So, he's the one moving all the cameras around and stuff as well. So thanks, Tori, behind the scenes guy. Pete, so welcome to Beyond the Wafer. And we want to take you and everyone watching beyond the wafer, where we get to know kind of you as a person, C-suites, leadership in the tech industry for the most part. To start us off, though, maybe you could just kind of like give us your origin story.
Sure.
Who are you? What do you do?
Great. Wow. Well, I won't go too far back, but I was born in New Jersey, so that says a lot, I think. And I went to school in Boston. I started as like a firmware engineer, a BIOS engineer for a company called Phoenix Technologies, and worked out of Boston, got moved to Silicon Valley, and really have been sort of in this kind of hardware meets software world, for the past few decades. Did some startup stuff in the Bay Area. I was chief product officer for an embedded Java company, and then we ended up putting our stuff on top of this new Windows mobile platform from Microsoft way back when they were making phones, the phone OS. And so I ended up working for Microsoft. Was there for like 18 years. Wow. Ended up doing a lot of stuff, phones, Zune, Windows on Snapdragon, did a lot of kind of AI on edge devices for a while there, and then left in 2023. And in the past year, I've been CEO of the Edge AI Foundation, which used to be called the TinyML Foundation, and we can talk more about that. But that's my current attention.
Yeah, Edge AI Foundation. I right off the bat, I just shared the website, by the way, and everyone else. I also shared Pete's LinkedIn. Let me post it over in the LinkedIn as well. Yeah. But in the LinkedIn stream. But so Edge AI Foundation, this is probably a pretty silly question, and we are going to get to know what Edge AI Foundation is, but why all caps?
Oh, why all caps? That's a good question. There was a decision there. So we're in a attention economy, right? And it was sort of like, well, AI is all caps. Okay, so then what do we capitalize the F and then not the rest of it? And then so it was like, Edge AI Foundation, just say it, just put it out there. Everyone sees it. It's all caps. And so that's kind of what we went with. But there wasn't any like scientific grammatical explanation. It was just like, just blast it out there, all caps.
I remember that. I remember that was the first thing you told me when I started writing it out. I started posting it places, and then you were like, "Robert, it's all caps. Edge AI Foundation, all caps." Awesome.
That's great. Now we also got to see each other in Austin.
Yes,
at the Edge AI conference recently here that happened in Austin. I was privileged to ask to come speak at the event there with Rob Tavy and the group there. Like, man, what an event! It was great and so critical. And like I was telling you, Pete, like, man, the level of speaking and the level of people that guy is speaking Chinese to me. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and that guy was speaking almost Chinese to me. But it was amazing to, and you were talking about the different levels and how we have those different levels of people and that intellect and that knowledge of experience and knowledge of talk of different talks. But that was great to hear.
Yeah, one of our kind of, I always tell people a signature experience of one of our events is that you're sitting in a presentation and you have no idea what's going on. So that's kind of like, but more seriously, it's like, this is a community building org. Edge AI Foundation is about building this community around Edge AI, and whether you're a developer, researcher, chief product officer at a Fortune 500, hardware developer, you bring your experience to the table into this community to help Edge AI. We advocate on behalf of that industry and where it's heading, and we also educate. So big part of what we do is educating people. I call it Edge AI literacy, so that people understand what it can do, what it can't do, how does it work, what's physical AI, what's AIoT, what's tiny ML. And so with these events that we have, which you were at and Robert was at, we do 3 of those a year. We had one in Austin, Texas for 3 days. And it's pretty intense. It's like 30 to 40 sessions. It's like half a dozen workshops. It's panels. It's eating and drinking. And you're kind of soaking in Edge AI for a few days with about a few hundred other people and get to know everybody. And yeah, you meet some really interesting people that are really into it. And it's just a good way to kind of get a 360-degree view of like what's state of the art in Edge AI. And in fact, shameless plug, we have another one coming up in Milan for our European community, July 2nd through the 4th. So if you happen to find yourself on that side of the pond, you should definitely show up because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I will say at the event that I went to in Austin, the Edge AI Foundation event, you all had some amazing panels. And you are a great host, Pete. You are a great host for panels, I will say. I just enjoyed those. I mean, like I would go tap in. I was doing obviously a lot of stuff around the floor, the showroom floor. But I mean, whenever there was a panel, I beelined it right to the panels. Those were a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're great conversations, especially like I said, people from different perspectives. We had one on investing in the edge. I think Robert, you were on that.
Yeah,
one, right?
I asked a bunch of questions. I wish I could have. I got some mentors out of that too.
That was cool. Like a lot of VCs and corporate money. And then we talked about deploying AI in the real world, right? Which is all about this gap between there's the demo and then there's the commercialization and deployment, right? That gap, and like, how do you bridge that gap? Because basically no one makes money until it gets deployed, right? That's something people in the tech world forget. Like they develop this product, they demo it. In Microsoft, we would get like a ship it plaque, that we'd stick on our little trophy case. And that was like, okay, we're done. But no, actually, that's just the beginning. So actually like getting it deployed in a sustainable manner, a supported manner is really tough. And that's where a lot of products die, is they don't get deployed and used over a sustained period of time. And so we had a lot of discussions about that too. So it was pretty cool. It was fun. And Austin, it's just always good. I think you can't have a bad meal in Austin, Texas. I don't think that's possible. So.
Yeah. And also every single place I went to in Austin, it had an amazing band. Like live music is just the scene over there. I could not believe
you can't play live music in Austin unless you're pretty good. So
yeah, I had my Venmo out, just like tipping all the musicians because they were just so freaking good. Yeah. Okay. Real quick though, before we dive in so much into all of this, I think we should just set the stage. We know who Pete is now.
Mm.
What is the AI foundation? I mean, like, highest level, what is the foundation, and what does it do? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, operationally, we are a California 501c3 nonprofit. But really, we're a community building org. We believe in our supporting partners, of which we have kind of 50 plus now companies, probably about 100 companies involved, but about 50 are really financially supporting us. Really believe in collaborating to move technology faster. And, as most of us know, this is a team sport, right? It's very hard for one company to come in to someone and just say, I'm going to solve your problems by myself. It's usually, if someone says that, you should probably run in the other direction. But it's about collaborating from metal to cloud to make edge AI, which is AI, or what I call AI in the real world, or AI in things outside the data center, really work well and be responsible and be effective and impactful. How do you do, low cost, high impact AI in the real world? And that's really what the foundation's about. And as I mentioned, it's like advocacy and education. That's kind of our two pillars of our existence. So, and it's a lot of fun. So
yeah, you guys have definitely some cool stuff going on. Robert, do you have any questions, or do we want to go into the icebreaker round and then we're going to go like into some serious stuff?
Let's go straight into icebreaker.
Okay, Pete, you ready for icebreaker? Did you peek at the pictures yet, or are these going to be for the most part? You did. Okay. You wanted to make sure I didn't snap any bad ones, right?
I got to tell your producer, you need some icebreaker theme music now. He's like icebreaker.
Yeah, we need like an icebreaker, like a button that I can hit, and there's like a transition.
Like icebreaker.
Yeah, icebreaker round. All right, so this round here, the icebreaker round, is all about kind of asking the question: what were you thinking, and what was kind of going on in your life at this point? Right. We don't want to just talk about like, I guess, the event per se. Let's not go so superficial. Let's kind of like go a little deeper in a sense. So what were you thinking?
Yeah, well, I'm wearing one of my favorite jackets. I was talking at our Europe event last year. So I think it was probably the first event where I was like full time running the foundation. And just talking about where we're at and where we're going. So that was good. That was good to see that progress there.
So this one isn't that old then? This is like what you say, about a year old?
Nah, it's like a year old. That's pretty close.
About this one. Looks like you're flying.
Well, yeah, I'm actually a passenger. So a friend of mine is a really good pilot. And so he took me up and has taken me up a few times in his plane off a Boeing field. And now he does like acrobatics and that stuff. So,
what is that?
Let's see. I'm trying to remember if that was his new plane or old plane. That must have been his newer plane. I don't remember the type. It's a nice one though. He does like acrobatic stuff, and I think we did like a roll and some other things too.
Oh, nice.
That was cool. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I'm up here in Bellevue, Washington, so you can fly up here, go to the San Juan Islands. It's pretty beautiful if the weather's nice. So.
One of my old friends was training at Montgomery Field here in San Diego, and he had to do like, I don't even know how many hours of flight, takeoffs and landings. And he invited me once, and we're on the coast of San Diego, like right by Pacific Beach. We flew down Garnett, and then on the coast is a 4-seater Cessna, and the guy just like cuts the engine, like does a stall, and I'm just freaking out. And I guess like you have to kind of practice this, but like. Okay. Yeah, terrifying. Little planes.
Practicing with passengers in there. Okay.
Yeah. Look at his beard.
That's an older one. So I used to have this gigantic beard. And I was on a podcast there. I was at Microsoft I used to really be involved in 5G and telco, which I've sort of detoxed from telco recently. But I was on a podcast there, and I had a giant beard, and I think it was on my birthday actually.
Oh wow.
Why'd you get rid of it?
It was time. You can see me there with the beard too. It's like, I don't know. Got tired of it. You want to change, you want to evolve. Actually, I ended up losing a lot of weight too a few years ago. So then I decided, well, now that I've lost this weight, now I should shave my beard and just kind of go for it.
I debated all
beard definitely hides it.
Yeah, so I decided to I got clearer glasses. I shaved my beard. I kind of did the whole thing. So, but this one, that was at some sort of, I'm trying to remember, it was like some telco or some partner session when I was at Microsoft, representing Microsoft, talking about something. I mean, quite often in this business, as you know, you end up getting invited to give your opinion about yada, yada, yada. I was mentioning to Robert Quinn, I'm in the Bay Area next week going to the World Economic Forum. I'm on their AI governance thing, kind of representing the edge computing. And it's really that's like a very broad spectrum of people from around the world. And so you end up in a lot of these discussions and trying to give your perspective. And I guess over the years, I've sort of built a skill around, blabbing about stuff.
I've gotten good at that.
Blabbing. More blabbing. Oh, you can see the beard in the full essence of that beard. That was a telco. That was like another telco thing. Oh, that was a MWC Barcelona. There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I used to go to MWC all the time, but not anymore.
This is the last one. I had no idea that, you were in Microsoft so deep that you actually, gave Bill Gates orders.
Yeah, I was kind of yelling at Bill. That was very early in my career at Microsoft. I was running the portable media center business. I was on the Windows Phone team. I ran this, and no one knows what the portable media center is, but it was the precursor to Zune. It was the Zune. We took that chassis and wrapped it in brown plastic and basically called it a Zune. And I was explaining to Bill, this was before his keynote at CES, and he was going to demo this device that was very flaky and like handled with care. And I was explaining to him, like, touch this button, don't touch that button, do this, don't do that. Because I didn't want him to, to get embarrassed on stage with this demo. So I was explaining that to him, and someone took a cool picture. And so that was one of my Bill moments. I'd met Bill several times over the years, and he was, by the way, always and when I was interacting with him, always very polite and very nice. I never got the nasty Bill part. I felt like whenever I was engaged with him, I felt pretty prepared, but it was pretty cool to interact with him. Pretty historic. One of the most historic people in technology, I think.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a nasty part to Bill, and I think that's I guess we'll do.
Well, I wouldn't say nasty. He had a reputation of being very tough in product reviews. Yeah. Very, he invented this thing called precision question and answer, which is like you just drill down to this very specific thing, and you just need to know your shit, and no excuses. And if you went in front of him with a waste of time, like I knew some folks couldn't get off of slide one, first slide, it's like 60 slide deck. It's I was there on slide one the whole time. That's what they told me. Pretty tough. So, not nasty, personally nasty, but he was just tough in making sure that, he asked the right questions, and he knew. And of course, he knew the answer before he even asked you the question. So he's just waiting for you to answer the question.
It's across the board. The CEO of NVIDIA, Tesla, all these CEOs, they have to be like that, right?
Well, part of the leadership is, asking the right questions and just making sure everyone knows, why certain decisions were made and certain trade-offs were made, which is always about that. But he was, notoriously challenging in his reviews.
Awesome. So this is the last picture here that we're going to show. And this is because I believe you're a car guy. Like I started to see you post pictures of cars, and I kind of want to how many cars do you have? Like, what's your favorite one?
This is just, I'm a single car person. So that's my,
gotcha.
I mean, we have like a Jeep Gladiator and stuff, but the car, I've always had like Swedish cars. I've had a couple of Saabs, a couple of Volvos. And this one is a 72 Volvo 1800 ES, which is a fastback wagon. It's like a two-door wagon. They made it for a couple of years. It's a really cool kind of iconic design, and they stopped making it in 73. So I picked up a 72 a long time ago, and that's down at, if anyone's out in the Redmond area on Saturdays, they have something called Exotics at RTC, Redmond Town Center. A couple hundred folks bring their cars, mostly like McLarens and Ferraris and Mercedes, bunch of like Microsoft, cars and stuff. But I bring my Volvo down there, and people are like, "What is that?" So
nice.
It's
so
fun.
I just recently had the
privilege. I'm sorry.
I just recently had the privilege of working with ISES, and we hosted a International Semiconductor Executive Summit in Raleigh, North Carolina, at the Exotic Car Club. And oh wow, was that cool or what? But I didn't know so many executives were into cars. I personally, I have a 1953 Ford Mainline. That's my I'm I'm a one car guy too, and she's my baby, and I love to work on it and show it at the different car shows as well. But yeah, it was amazing to bring all the executives together there at that Raleigh, North Carolina, at the Exotic Car Club, and getting to know all of them personally, knowing that that they were all car guys. I didn't know all these people are car guys.
Well, it's interesting to see the types of cars different people have. It says something about their personality, maybe. But yeah, the exotics at RTC is a cool mashup of classic and new, a lot of new, very exotic cars too. So it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Okay, ice broken. Right
Ice
now,
has been broken.
let's dive into Edge AI Foundation. So
Sure.
Edge AI Foundation used to be TinyML, correct?
Yes, we were called the TinyML Foundation. We were founded in like around 2018, 2019, and founded by, there's like someone from Google, someone from Qualcomm, someone from NXP, like basically getting together. A lot of these were more research people trying to figure out, like, how do we do this? Like, can we do this? Can we run AI models in these very resource constrained environments? And that's how it started. And there was a lot of like-minded folks in that space that got together. And, and I think over time, like and I'd actually known about it at the time because I was at Microsoft and we were doing Edge AI type things too, like image sensors and stuff. But, what happened over time was that the conversations kind of expanded, as they tend to do. And the technology got more mature. It wasn't as much about how do we do this or, can we do this? It was more like, how do we actually grow this area? And we started talking about CNNs and RNNs and AI vision. We started talking about generative AI and transformers. So by the time I got into it about a year ago, it was pretty clear we needed to kind of rebrand to kind of have the proper aperture scope of discussion and bring in the right partners too that wanted to have those discussions. So we took the step of rebranding as the Edge AI Foundation, which has been a big hit. Everyone loves the name, and they got the logo and the gear and all that stuff. It's been great. And I think it's really, we just had Intel join as a partner, which I think is proof in the pudding, And in fact, I've had that. I think they told me, like, if you were still called a TinyML, we wouldn't be having that discussion. So it really helped bring in. And I think when you guys were in Austin, we had Dell there as a keynote as well. And thinking about AI and the holistic thing from sensors to heavier edge. Yeah, you can see our cool website there.
You got a lot of partners.
We got a lot of partners, and there's like almost like a new one every week, which is pretty cool. And we have, what's also cool about it is, like, it represents the whole stack from metal to cloud. It represents everyone from, there's Gorilla, they just joined recently out of Taiwan.
Hackster joined. Well, didn't Hackster join back when at the Austin event?
Yeah, we have a partnership with it. We're actually about to launch a really cool academic challenge, or a challenge with them at our event in Milan. So we've got, startups, we've got established tech folks, we have people doing middleware, models, tools, semiconductors, devices, you name it. Like, the whole community is represented. Even solution providers, we've got Embed UR in there. We've got
scholarship partners.
Yeah, we've got scholarship partners like DevEco.
Hey,
Ding.
Yeah. Now, yeah, Pete, Pete, what were you saying? You were saying we were on stage and we were talking about the Edge, and you were referring it to that box of cables. You remember that?
Yeah. Like this is like the world of IoT sort of turned into that box of cables we all have in our garage. It's like,
mine's a pile right here behind me.
Yeah, there you go. So, I think I have I put them in plastic bins now. I have plastic cables, but so it's all in there. But that we don't want Edge AI to turn into a big box of cables. We want it to flourish as an ecosystem that's solving real problems. And so that's it. What's interesting about IoT versus Edge AI, I would say, is IoT started as embedded systems, kind of from the ground up, right? We had embedded computing, disconnected, right, that were deployed out in the world to do things, industrial things, commercial things. And then the internet came along, right, in like the 90s, and people said, I can connect this to the internet. And so they They did in lots of funky different ways, right?
Yeah.
And then the clouds, then there's hyperscaler clouds showed up, and then so so IoT's always been like kind of like, how do I connect this very funky thing and like send data up into the cloud and do something with it? So that's why it's so heterogeneous and challenging to get real deployments out there. Whereas AI is really a cloud native technology that was born on high performance computing, virtualized systems, hypervisor based virtualized, containers, and then has made its way to the edge, right? And so what we're seeing now is pretty cool, like ways of thinking about orchestration of AI workloads and management, and like, how do I make edge, devices seem like cloud resources? Like, so I'm really encouraged by that thinking, where it's like we're thinking about the whole thing, like from metal to cloud, like I said, and making it more coherent. Even though there's like lots of funky things out there, they all sort of snap into a kind of a taxonomy that makes sense for Fortune 500 to deploy, which is pretty cool. So I'm optimistic we'll avoid another box of cables. I don't have room for another box of cables in my garage.
For sure.
So let's look at the long-term vision for the Edge AI Foundation. I mean,
Yeah.
Right, it was TinyML Foundation. Now it's the Edge AI Foundation. What does the long-term vision look like? How do you hope the industry will be in the next 5 years?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of work to do now to bridge the demo to deployment gap, right? Which I would call that's kind of where we're at right now. A lot of the discussions are around deployment and commercialization, as opposed to, yes, there's lots of cool stuff being built and new chips and new things, but it's really like, how do we bridge the gap? And so that's a lot of discussion around that. And so, for us, first of all, we want to make sure the full community is represented. And like I said, new partners coming in every week. We're also, like I said, the other thing was like about literacy and education, because I do believe that whether you're a professional, a student, mid-career, developer, chief product officer, C-suite, knowledge, you can get empowered through knowledge. And so for us, a big part of our mission is empowering people through that knowledge, giving them that literacy so that they can take all this cool tech and actually do something with it. And so for us, we're going to keep now investing in more and more, I would say, literacy programs. We have these challenges. We have ongoing challenges that we have 40 or 50 teams competing on things. We're going to be launching some certificate-based education. We have this past year, we started a scholarship fund, which is, again, pretty big. And so we're underwriting educational programs around the world. So if you go to our website or our YouTube channel, we just underwrote a program in Malawi, which is in East Africa. And it was like a 2-week program to teach teachers how to teach Edge AI and TinyML. And then they go back with curriculum to then educate. We're going to do another one of those in the fall in Colombia in Latin America. Same thing. So that's really, for us, it's like, on one end, yeah, all the great tech companies are joining and they're working together and collaborating and selling a bunch of stuff. Cool. But how do you then educate, and empower through knowledge? And that's kind of really the payoff for everybody, not only the business folks, but just from society. Like, imagine if we were all 10% more educated on anything. Right. That would be pretty cool, right? So like, our role to play is to make sure people have that literacy.
Absolutely.
I love it.
It's so critical to have that literacy and being able to teach that to the kids. I also have a nonprofit organization called SIMU, Semiconductor Industry Mobile Education Unit, and I want to be able to take this 52-foot semi and 18-wheeler around the nation to schools and to be able to tour 700 students a day through this unit, and give these kids this aha moment where, I learned what semiconductors are. And how cool would that be to give them that Disney World experience inside of something like that? But right now we're just taking kids to the JJ Pickle Lab at UT. And it's a great experience though, seeing that, being able to educate people and be able to give those kids that moment of aha, it's so enjoying. I love it.
We have, students are good, but also there's a lot of workforce development going on. So like, we have a live stream called Edge AI Career, which we run that with the 5V, one of our partners called 5V, which is a UK company that does staffing and solutions. And that's a live stream where we talk about, how do you build an Edge AI career? And, as you may know, there's a lot of transitions going on with careers and folks, leaving the business later in career, and they're looking for, how do I, stay relevant and do new things. And, the one of the knowledge gaps we have is we have a lot of folks in the embedded space that aren't really AI savvy. And then we have a lot of AI folks like on the Pythons and stuff that aren't really very embedded and device savvy. And so, bridging that gap with knowledge is from a professional developer or workforce development is really important. In fact, when we roll out our Edge AI Foundation 100 level certification, which is really going to be about basic literacy, one of the targets we're going to be helping is Fortune 500 companies getting their employees literate. So, as an example, like a company like Walmart has like 30,000 people in their IT group. Which a lot of people don't know. I mean, McDonald's, a lot of these Fortune 500s have huge tech orgs. Can we get 10,000 of those employees Edge AI literate? Product managers, developers, hardware, just so they know what is this stuff? What is the terminology? How does this work? So part of what we want to do is like do that kind of workforce development for corporations to get their workforce trained up, and governments too. Imagine policymakers. Imagine if everyone in Washington, D.C. knew what Edge AI was and how it worked, or in the EU, right? So before they start like hacking away at some legislation, they're like, oh, actually, I know what this stuff is. I know how this works.
Well, not just policymakers. I mean, CEOs. I was at the in Munich at the CEO roundtable, and somebody mentioned, "What do you think about neuromorphic computing?" And all 7 of these CEOs that were on this panel looked at each other and said, "What's that?"
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, they're running these corporations, but they don't speak our language. And so, how do you tell a story and speak a language that from a ninth grader all the way up to a CTO, engineer, and CEO can understand the same thing, right?
Right. Yeah. Neuromorphic. We have a neuromorphic working group in the foundation. So we have a number of working groups going on, but and in fact, one of our partners, Inatera, just to name drop a little bit, announced a new neuromorphic chip at Computex last week, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
So check that out. But yeah, that's one of those really interesting parts of AI, like neuromorphic, AIoT, tiny ML, physical AI. We come up with all these. One of the cool things about the tech industry is you get to kind of make up words, and terms, and you don't have to explain them. You just start using them. So. But that's the issue is like, it's really incredible. If you look at neuromorphic computing, if people don't know what that is, which probably most people don't, what's called spiking neural networks is like, the way right now we've written our AI code to fit into traditional, compute architectures, right? Like x86 and ARM and all that stuff. Imagine if you could create compute architecture that matched how the human brain actually processed information. It would end up being incredibly more power efficient, something like 500 times more power efficient, 100x less latency. And so that's what neuromorphic is. It's like really new chips with an architecture designed around how the brain works with spiking neural networks, which means you can do things like wearables and super low power things where the battery doesn't need to be changed for like a decade on some of these things. So
I'll wear that
that's
watch.
like a good example of a niche. I wouldn't say niche, but it's like a specialization, a type of AI that could be incredibly powerful for like quick serve restaurants and healthcare and a bunch of other things. But like you said, there isn't literacy around it yet. And that's part of what our mission is.
Absolutely.
Let me ask a question here. So, I mean, we haven't really even said the words open source yet in this entire stream.
Mm-hmm.
So, what role does open source play, for Edge AI Foundation and Edge AI innovation in general? I mean, I guess how is the foundation supporting any sort of open source communities?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, especially in the academic world, the ability to kind of share your innovations and contribute is kind of foundational to all pun intended there. So like we contribute data sets, for example, into the open source community. We have a data sets working group that kind of creates and harvests data sets from the community, from academia, and then makes those available to the community to accelerate. So it's all about like, open source it just accelerates development and deployment of a lot of technology out there, including AI and including edge AI. And so data sets is one example where I think we're making a real contribution there. And then, of course, there's models everywhere. You go into Hugging Face, there's like 16,000 different models. And, the kind of the challenge there is like when you then go try to solve a problem. Let's say I'm the CTO of Domino's Pizza, right? I have a problem I'm trying to solve. I'm trying to do inventory control on my tomatoes or whatever. Okay, like which of those 16,000 models do I use? So again, it gets to the kind of the deployment challenge there. But making sure there's high quality data sets, that we're collaborating a lot with academia, that helps drive a lot of the open source stuff, I think.
And this actually brings up just what you mentioned. I feel like this question, maybe we can kind of tackle this one. So what kind of tooling, reference implementations, standardizations, efforts in general could be made to kind of like make what you just said happen, right? I mean,
yeah,
I feel like that's a big deal, right?
It is a big deal. I mean, part of it is, like I said before, like if you look at edge AI as like a cloud native type of deployment. So, it's sort of beholden on folks who are on the buy side to, in their RFPs and stuff, require that all these solutions snap into some sort of cloud native architecture so that they are not kind of bespoke one-off dead end, right to the metal and forget it kind of deployment. So that's, I think, people snapping to more of this kind of cloud native orchestration is going to be helpful to I wouldn't say standardize, but make the gazindas and gazaudas sort of line up a little better. We're also very early in this cycle. I mean, some people have used the metaphor like AI is like a running baby. It's like a baby running fast, and so that usually doesn't end well. But so it's early, and so we don't want to kind of standardize too early and say, thou shalt use this model architecture in this way. Like we still need that innovation. So it's like sort of like, how do you kind of have best practices so that people can actually deploy and get a return on investment without stifling the innovation? I use best practice more than standards.
I like that. A lot of people will like shout from the rooftops, like we need standards. But like what you just said is sometimes standardizing too early is not a good thing because then you stifle innovation. And exactly. I really like that. And on that note, right? So this would be another thing that kind of, I hope, segues into this is what are some of the most promising real world edge AI use cases that you've seen like today or coming up soon or in the past year?
There's so many people don't even realize that they're living in an edge AI world in a lot of cases. Like when you go to a doctor's office, a lot of that equipment is running AI workloads now to measure, your health and do things locally, not on the cloud. We see a lot of municipalities deploying, pedestrian safety and a lot of smart city technologies. Like when you're using a camera these days, you can't just stream video from the camera to the cloud and then process it on the cloud. It has to be done in the camera. So there's a ton of AI vision scenarios around safety and security that need to be edge AI. Look at vehicles, so you're running AI workloads now on a lot of the newest vehicles, whether it's autonomous driving or not. It's just about smart sensors doing smart things in near real time. Robotics would be another one. Agriculture, water systems, sewer systems, measuring those flows and looking for leaks. And so it's really becoming ubiquitous across a lot of these industries. Manufacturing, defect inspection. We have a company that just joined us called Synthetic AI Data out of Copenhagen, who use generative AI to create high quality data sets for like defect inspection. So, let's say you wanted to have a screw, you wanted to look for different defects in the screw. Like, how do you create a data set to train a model to look for different potential defects in a screw? So they're all over the place. So I don't really necessarily have a favorite, but it's not hard to find them. In fact, we have a show called Blueprints that we do a live stream on our YouTube channel, and it's all about those solutions. And we had one on aquaculture with SoftBank in Japan. We had one on pedestrian safety, as I mentioned, spotting plastic in the ocean for ocean cleanup. Those are pretty cool. I mean, there's also like less glamorous ones, obviously, but But yeah, there's almost everywhere you turn these days, someone is using AI in an environment, like in your watches and all that other stuff too. So pretty ubiquitous. Pretty
I've got a
ubiquitous.
question for you. Like, so with LLMs and all these new the LLM technologies that are going to be personal assistants on your phone, and they're going to be in your watch, they're going to be on everything. Now, to me, that kind of translates to the edge needing to be hardware as well, right? And so, are we going to have all new devices for all these new edge AI devices that are going to be running?
Well, I mean, you need to
You're
buy
running
the
on the edge. Are
iPhone
we going to have
18
a
to do
new
this.
laptop with that hardware on it?
And you need your Copilot PC with your iPhone 18, blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, like, it's always been that thing. Like, even like, look at like cameras and smartphones. Like when those were I think the flip phone, the first camera phone was invented by Philippe Kahn, who was a founder of Borland a long time ago. And it was like some 1 megapixel thing. So, imaging and just like that has evolved, and the hardware has gotten better. And yes, you have to buy a new phone to do the new thing, and da. And I think with AI, the new hardware will do more, more quickly, with less power consumption, better battery life. And so in a consumer sense, these are, in the phones and PCs are like general purpose compute platforms, which is a little different. But you'll start to see more equipment and consumer electronics and things that you can buy that do things, that are sort of peel and stick, battery powered, edge AI capable. And yeah, that's going to require new hardware. And, this is called beyond the wafer. So for those chip business, that's good, right? Because you're selling some new chips. But it has to be tied to a valuable use case, right?
Right.
And that's the challenge out there, is for developers, is like, what are those killer use cases that's going to drive those sales and those deployments, either on the consumer side or the commercial deployments, right? For sure.
Thank you. So I want to get this one. I think this is just a fun question, and seeing as you're the professional here, I'd really like to know if there are any edge AI myths that you can debunk now, things that you hear at the dinner table while you're at a party with your friends or something, and someone brings something up and you're just like, no, let me tell you how it really is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are, when I talk to my relatives and other folks about what I do, and we talk about AI, there's always this, and this is interesting, like these days, tech is part of our cultural news cycle, right? Which it wasn't, a couple of decades ago, at the Thanksgiving dinner table, I'd be the one who works with computers, and no one else had the conversation. Now it's like everything is like you're talking about AI and tech. And so obviously that drives a lot of anxiety and hype cycles and click cycles in the news around AI and AGI, and AI is going to take over this and da. And I don't know if it's a myth per se, but I think there's probably more energy put on that kind of doomsday scenarios than there are on the beneficial things that it can do now, as opposed to the hypothetical. I always tell people, like, we're on the road to, artificial general intelligence and the singularity of stupidity at the same time. Like, as a society, it's not clear who's winning. We I'm not sure who's winning on different days of the week, but the greatest threat may be not AI, but our own ignorance.
Stupid.
Einstein said, I don't know what World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Sticks and stones, yeah.
Exactly.
So Robert, by the way, Robert Quinn, interrupt me. I have so many questions for Pete, but like, you feel like if you have any questions you want to chime in,
No, go for it. I'll jump in as we go.
Awesome.
Someone popped up the TinyML cookbook from Gianmarco. Yeah. So Gianmarco is actually going to teach a workshop at our event in Milan on generative AI using a Raspberry Pi platform. So nice. If anyone out there is a fan of Gianmarco, which I am, come to our Milan event. So he's going to do like a hands-on workshop with generative AI and language models on Raspberry Pi. So he's a good one.
I think my name is in that book, by the way, like accredited in one part in the book, because I helped him do something. I think I helped him like sell a bunch of them at one point.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully he brings the book with him and can do some autograph sessions or something.
Yeah, actually, I think I have one of them. Anyways, yeah, no, Gianmarco's awesome. He's really,
awesome.
really cool. So okay, I have more. Let's see. I want to kind of like talk about leadership because we only have about 15 minutes left, more accurately 10 minutes. So,
Okay.
you know, you've been around the block. You know, you've done a whole bunch of stuff in the industry. I want to kind of, I guess, get a little bit of what your leadership philosophy looks like. You know, when you're in a company, whether it's, you know, having your team or as a CEO in the C-suite running a foundation like this, like what does your philosophy look like in terms of leading?
Well, I mean, it is a team approach, you know, whether you're the leader of the team. And first of all, leadership is something that everyone can be a leader, even if you're an individual contributor. So leadership is not a management position. It is a frame of mind to provide, you know, vision and guidance to your team. And those could be colleagues. Those could be your manager. You know, you can be a leader to your manager, in fact. And so that's always been my approach is like, how do we kind of go farther, faster with whatever we're doing, and how can I help, you know, make the rest of the team successful? And sometimes I do that in a position, you know, of quote unquote authority, but you know, quite often it's just working with other folks and trying to help them be successful, which in turn, you know, helps me be successful. And I think that's kind of my strategy is, you know, there's difference between being a manager and being a leader. And the good news is everyone can be a leader. Even as a college student, you can be a leader. And you know, when you hire, and you guys know this, you know, when you hire someone like that, you can tell. It's like this person's like proactive, they're self-starter, they're making suggestions, they're going beyond their comfort zone. You can just drop them into a problem and they're going to try to solve it, maybe solve it. And like that's a leader. And so you know, I'd like to hopefully cultivate, you know, folks over the years to be those types of folks. And I've hired many folks that are doing great. And I see them, they're at Microsoft, they've been there for decades. And it's great to see them, you know, rising through the ranks. And because I knew, you know, when you hire them, you're like, this person's got it together. So that's kind of my philosophy is like, everyone's a leader. And I think just helping others be successful is usually the right recipe.
So taking that, I love it, by the way. So like, I mean, I like how you said, even you can be a leader to your manager. And I think that's really cool. It's actually quite powerful. Yeah. So 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how do you hope people describe your leadership at the Edge AI Foundation?
Well, I mean, I think in general, you know, and when I left Microsoft, actually, I got a lot of feedback from folks I had hired over the years that really appreciated my management style and hopefully imbued that so that they could then, you know, work that style with others as well. So I'm hopefully at like modeling, you know, good leadership, and you know, giving people the tools and empowering them to be successful as well. So, I mean, 5 years from now, I'd love to see the foundation, you know, really, you know, we are a global organization, but there's more we can do. We're actually about to announce some support in Africa and support in Korea, which is going to be great. So really strengthening our worldwide footprint and really being a source for knowledge and education, as well as the technology stuff, as I said. So I think we're on that road. It just takes some time. But you know, so hopefully people that will appreciate that. And, you know, what we're doing with the scholarship fund, I mean, you know, I want to be 10X that and have the impact where people will say, hey, my career was like really positively impacted because the Edge AI Foundation, they stepped in, they gave me a travel grant. I got to this event and then I got a job or whatever, you know, like I hope that we can play that kind of part in people's lives where it's like the butterfly effect, where it's like, well, I went to this live stream, I learned this thing and blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, I'm a CVP at Microsoft or something.
The one.
So what, real quick here, Robert, the crazy thing is, Pete, is that this live stream wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Edge AI Foundation. Me and Robert met at the Edge AI Foundation, Austin, became friends, and ended up doing this. So like literally, this is what happened. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's cool. Isn't it? People meet, people get together and things happen. So that's cool.
Yeah. And Pete, you are like just the the epitome of cool and calm and collected. Like when I went to that event, I was like, oh, I've hosted some very large events before, and I know it's just chaotic at times. and I just walked up to you in the middle of the event, and I said, man, to myself, I'm thinking to myself, he's not gonna have time to sit down and talk. And you were just so cool and calm and collected, and everything was running, and it really set me back that you were handling it so well, and you have so much going on all at the same time, but you were still able to be that cool.
Well, again, we have a good team. That's part of it. Is like El Fago on our events team, Mikel, Rosina. Everyone has a role to play, and and then we get the engine moving, and then we're on to the next event. And also the other thing is, I think part of what we do and is good cultural practice is to take a look at what worked and what didn't work, and sort of don't be afraid to get the feedback and say constructive criticism to sort of do better all the time. Absolutely. And then things are a little stressful. You had to sort of compartmentalize a little bit, but which is a good muscle to build, by the way, compartmentalization. In life, but no, it was fun, and it's energizing and stressful, but sometimes that's two sides of the same coin, right? That stress and that energy go together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to echo what Robert Quinn just said. I mean, like at the event, not only did I get to meet a whole bunch of amazing people, this stream came out of it, new friend, Robert Quinn, but I mean, also, I think I mentioned this to you while we were there, Pete, is that like, I've been to a lot of events around that size, and, the CEOs in many cases nowhere to be found, right? Like, they're doing some other stuff, and you were in the mix. You were in the thick of it. And I thought that was really cool. Like we got to hang out and we got to talk, and you were just one of us, and that felt really nice. 2 questions left. I have 2 questions left, and then I guess we're going to close this out, Robert, unless you have any other plans. Okay. So these last 2 questions is, one, it's going to be a 2-parter. So one is, how can individual developers, startups, researchers, academia, centers of excellence, of course, anyone in the world, if they're watching this and they want to get involved with the Edge AI Foundation, how can they do it? And then number 2 is, are there any roadblocks or things that you may be able to throw out there to kind of entice them with? Like, we have this problem, we need to solve it. Let's go, war cry.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, I would encourage folks to go to the website. There's join us at edgeaifoundation.org. You can email us, you can fill a little form, but we're always looking we have a special program for startups to become like members of the foundation, of the community, as well as mid-size and larger companies. If you're working at a company that's like a pretty major company, I always say this at these events, and you don't see your logo up there, then you should talk to your manager, become an evangelist for us. We appreciate that, so that we can get your company into the community. So I think that would be the second thing. We have a Discord channel. You should join that and dig in, dsc.gg/EdgeAI or EAIF. So join the conversation there. And I would say, if you can, if you're in Europe, come to Milan. We're going to be in Taipei in the fall. So for a 2-day session, come to one of these things, like they were saying in Austin, like you meet a lot of cool people. We had like a lot of UT students in Austin at one of our mixer events, just having beers. And they're like, yeah, we're here looking for a job. It's like, oh, you want to go talk to the chief architect, AI architect for NXP? They're like sitting right there. Like, forget about like sending in your resume to LinkedIn. Just go to one of these things and, you can like meet these execs like face to face. So like come to it, like the physical, like I know we've gotten used to a lot of this kind of virtualized stuff, but there is a lot of value in just showing up and just, I mentor a lot of students and they're like, well, how do I get the job here? But I'm like, go to some event, like just show up and like introduce yourself to the keynote speaker afterward and just meet people. And then it happens. There you go. Yes.
I like this idea.
San Diego.
That's great. Foundation event in San Diego, Pete.
Yeah, we've been thinking about that. Like we did Austin. Now we want to come back to California, and we're thinking, San Diego is a good option. East Bay, maybe. It turns out like the San Francisco Bay Area is like super expensive to do events. Kind of screwed.
I'll hook you up in San Diego.
The nonprofit is a little tough, but Yeah, San Diego would be nice. Weather's always nice down there. Good.
Well, I'm
fish.
excited for Milan. I think Milan's going to be amazing.
Milan
And,
is going to be.
and Europe is just hungry for this information. The Europeans are hungry for this, so I can imagine that you're going to have people flying in from around all over the EU. This is going to be a great event. I'm really excited for it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. So come join us at hifoundation.org. Let us know how you can support the community and how we can help you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. There's your plug. Anything else you want to add in here, Pete, before I pass it over to Robert Quinn to close us out?
No, it's been great. I would say another thing, like I am joking about my gear here, but we do sell gear on our website that supports our scholarship fund. So any money that comes in from that.
Where can I find that? Where do I find the
if
store?
you go to our homepage, there's a link on the homepage for the gear. We keep throwing new stuff up.
I found it.
Yeah,
here, I'll send it. I'll share it here too.
Little t-shirt thing, little thing. We got these are our new hats that we're going to be showing off in Milan.
Nice.
If you become a strategic partner, you get a hat. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. Very nice. Nice.
Well, no, it's been great coming here and joining you guys and seeing you again. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you very much, Pete, for coming here and hanging out with us, and everyone else who's watching. Thank you so much for hanging out on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube for the DevEco channel. Pete, I'm going to hand this over to Robert, and then I'll see you a little bit later, so Robert can kind of close us out. But this is my thanks to you. Your turn, Robert. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for everybody for coming to the show. This is a great opportunity to share and to talk about the industry and these leaders in the industry and what's going on. Thank you to my LinkedIn followers and everybody that's on that side. But Rob and Pete, thanks so much for joining me today. And we'll catch you again on the next show coming up in 2 weeks from now. Look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.